A young woman vanished from the parking lot at Lenox Square Mall, and the woman who replaced her at work was found murdered, her body stuffed in the trunk of her car. Those two cases happened more than 50 years ago, but they remain unsolved tonight. Someone got away with murder.
One of Atlanta's most notorious unsolved murders.
The disappearance of Mary Shotwell Little.
25-year-old Mary Shotwell Little was married only 6 weeks when she disappeared on a shopping trip to Atlanta's Lenox Square, October 14th, 1965.
Lenox Square Mall, an Atlanta landmark and the scene of the city's coldest cold case.
This is 1965. You're looking at Lenox Square. Mary's car was originally parked and left here, where that white car is.
Her blood-stained car with some of her underwear was discovered in the same parking lot 2 days later.
The car had been moved 22 spaces.
And there was blood in the car.
There was blood in the car.
The only clue, a blood-stained car.
There was blood on the headrest that had been smeared, blood against the window, blood against the door panel, blood on the steering wheel with a fingerprint in the steering wheel.
Every turn took me to another theory, another clue, another dead end. Just when you think you might know what happened, think again.
Cold case investigator Jessica Knoll researched and recorded the 11 Alive podcast, 5 Roses.
Right before she vanished forever, she received roses at work from an unknown admirer. It visibly upset her, and she threw them in the trash.
Almost afraid of the roses. That was the feeling I got from one of the reports.
The girl that took her place at C&S Bank a year and a half later turned up dead in the trunk of her car.
That's where the car was found, right there.
This is approximately the location where Diane Shields' car was found May 20th, about 2:30 in the morning by one of our patrol units, 50, 60 feet down, facing out, facing back this way.
East Point officers spotted blood leaking from a '63 Chevy. Inside the trunk, the body of Diane Shields, beaten and strangled, 18 months after Mary Shotwell Little vanished from her bloody car.
After she went missing, Diane Shields took her job at the same desk. It's a striking coincidence that two women had held the same job within a year and a half. Both came to some untimely end.
That wasn't the only coincidence. Mary and Diane also had the same roommate.
Army reservists were activated to search the woods around what was then a rural area next to Lenox.
But something else disappeared without a trace. Evidence and crime scene photos from both cases.
The blood samples from the car are MIA, as are the photographs.
Some of the reports, some of the files, interviews, physical evidence was gone.
The work of the original investigators who spent their lives trying to solve death.
Stubbs is dead, Banks is dead, Roberts is dead, Shipp is dead, Wilson is dead.
The grandson of a former East Point detective rediscovered a copy of the Diane Shields case file years later in his basement.
This was taken off the quarter panel of the car,
including a fingerprint from Diane's car that remains unidentified. The biggest clue in Mary's disappearance is still her signature on a credit card receipt in North Carolina, where a gas station attendant saw a woman alive but covered in blood in the passenger seat before her empty but blood-stained car was found at Lenox Square.
Why take her to North Carolina? Why have a living victim in the car for 4 hours to 20 hours? All they have to do is get a flat tire, get pulled over by the state patrol, get pulled over by a sheriff's department, have an accident, and then he's got a victim sitting in the car screaming. Makes no sense.
There's no way to see through the smokescreen of time, to peel back the years to the moment Diane was murdered or to when Mary disappeared.
That was kind of when the Atlanta metropolitan area lost its innocence. All of a sudden, where you once thought you were safe, you weren't. People realized that they were vulnerable.
So where do these cases stand? Are they still open?
Technically, Faith, they are still open, but the only people actually investigating are part of an unofficial task force made up of current and former police officers, an attorney, and others who spend their spare time trying to solve Atlanta's most notorious cold cases. Also, Jessica's podcast, 5 Roses, it is already generating leads as people across the nation once again ask, who killed Diane Shields and what happened to Mary Shotwell Little?